JB here. Hope everyone's doing outstanding. June 3rd, 2024, 57 minutes to the close. Going to be really quick. Talk about the SPY, some of the names I'm in, some of the names I've traded, and go from there. But take a look at the S&P, and I kind of made a I wouldn't call it a joke, but considering where the market was at 3:30 on Friday and where it was when we were pulling back, it would have take a huge move for it to get to just where it was 30 minutes before the close on Friday. But here we are. I mean, the S&P is down. No big catalyst to speak of that you can see. Um, I think it's just more chop. So my hope I would like to see the SPY close over 525 or so, and then we can work our way to the upside. Nothing big in the way of the catalysts besides the May jobs report on Friday. So outside of that, I think it opens the market up to some swings. And earlier today we had halts on some names. CMG dropped 1%, and all of a sudden it's halted. And then some of these NYSE names were halted just because there was some kind of glitch in the system. Oh gosh, I remember days of craziness that this does nothing to to compare to it. Um, Rants for other days. I remember one time it was like 2:30 in the afternoon, and I'm on audio, and there was a tweet that someone bombed the White House, right? And that the markets like crashed. It was on Twitter, and it was turned to be completely false. But like that was the day where people realized, hey, social media can really impact stocks. So anyway, rants for other days. Hopefully the SPY holds 525. I think we get up near 530, 531 on the SPY, and that's kind of support resistance, churn through there, and then maybe we can look to get to new highs. So some of the names. So of course, first I'll look at GPCR, and that's one of my top five stocks for 2024. Some of it, and maybe 25 or 33% of the reason I was bullish on the name was because coming into 2024, I had this GLP-1 theme, which would be VKTX, ALT, turn, and GPCR, which is a somewhat recent IPO, seemed to have some good data, but some of the reason it's been kind of stuck is because of its adverse effects. So back in the fall, it released data, and it was, uh, I guess, worse than expected, adverse effects for their cohort. So people who took their drug, whether it had nausea, vomiting, had to go to a hospital, just not good. So then they just had their oral data, and the data was great, but then again, their cohort had a 60% plus incidence of vomiting. So if you're looking at the data, you say, well, that's bad. But then the stock soared, and it's up 63% right now. I think there's got to be something else behind the data, whether it's um, I didn't listen to the conference call, so I don't know. I can't give specifics. But what it did do is give me a chance to get out some of my calls. So lucky for that. I think it trades into the 60s, and then you have to think it would help turn it. It would help VKTX. It would help ALT and some of these other names, and those names are trading down today. So just doesn't make sense to me, but not going to complain, not going to try and figure it out. I'll just take take what the market gives you and go from there. I was actually looking when it was in the 40s. I said this thing's going to keep going. I was looking at like 50 and 60 strikes into July. I passed on those, and of course they'd be up quite a bit right now. But I'll hold the last of my GPCR calls, and I'll revisit. And if I find some information that kind of gives some color around its move today, I mean it's up 63%. You would think if someone had said yesterday that they're going to post decent data on their oral drug with 63% ratio of adverse effects on their cohort, I would say, wow, this thing's probably going to trade into the low 30s. So there has to be something else. All right, so that's GPCR. Uh, Not going to talk too much about Dell and HPQ. Kind of disappointing. Down to 130, 136, back up near 140. Now, back under 129. Actually, I think it hit 128 and change. 128.60 was the lows at about 1045. And it's kind of been chopping around here at 132 and change. I'm just going to hold what I have. At some point, I think it heads higher. This is probably just getting rid of the folks who are bearish the name, who think the story's over. I think it still has legs to the story. You know, Dell has some legs. I think HPQ has more legs. I think there's more to that story. So I'll continue to hold that. Um, C3I, so AI all the way up to I think it hit 3070 right at the open. Let's see if I can pull this back. I can't, of course. Let's see. Nope. Oh, 30.84. So all the way down to 28.92 at about 9:30 or so. Then all the way up to 30.84. And it's been chopping ever since. Still like this one, obviously going to need a large move for my strikes that expire this week. But I still think this trade's mid 30s in the coming week or two. Spotify, I guess, I always talk about sometimes making being profitable is about not taking a trade, right? Not losing money on a trade. I love Spot. And I think so. If you take a look at its last earnings, you take a look at the move that it had when it announced a price increase in Europe, you would think it trades substantially higher, 330, 340, 350. Then this morning they announced that they're going to raise premium pricing in the US, and it's all the way up to 317 in the pre-market. Now it's turning around here, 312, then down to 309, back up to 313. Definitely a name we're going to look possibly to trade some speculative trades this week, but I'm certainly not going to chase, especially it's chopping here. All it's doing is killing premiums. So that's Spotify. I think that's about it. I'm trying to think of some of the things I was going to. GameStop all the way down from 40 down to here, 30, 50. Everybody has to, did Roaring Kitty, did he sell his shares? His calls. He has $20 strikes, June 21st expiration. Um, Interesting stuff. But that's it, folks. Let's have a great rest of the day. We have 51 minutes to the close. I'll be back on audio in the morning. Rock and roll.